going on, working class hustlers? In this video we're going to be talking about using prep centers for Amazon FBA. That might be a topic that you're interested in. I get a lot of questions about it, and so we figured, you know what, why don't we see if we can add value by creating a video where we kind of talk about it. And what we're going to cover is what is a prep center, how it typically works, why you might consider using a prep center, the pros and cons of using a prep center, my experience with prep centers, including which one I used, and then I want to give a little bit of a bonus. It has nothing to do with prep centers, but just something I want to add value to try and help you along your Amazon FBA journey. So you're going to want to stick around for the entire video. We'll try to keep it as brief as possible. So let's get right into it. Oh, yes. Gang, what is a prep center? Okay, so it works like this. As you probably know, we're doing Amazon FBA, and it doesn't matter if you're private label, if you're wholesale, if you're arbitrage. If you're using fulfillment by Amazon, which is what FBA stands for, you have to get the inventory to the warehouse. So how do you get it there? Well, you have to prepare the shipment. You have to get it to Amazon. Now you can use Amazon's deeply discounted UPS account, and that's fine. But that does take time. It is very very labor intensive to do this. So what a prep center will do is they will create the shipments and they will ship in the products for you. In other words, well, that's pretty much it. So now we move on to how it works. So the way it works is this. What happens is, let's say you're doing arbitrage. We're going to use arbitrage in this case because that's what this channel really talks about, but it would work the same even if you were private label. Basically, what happens is, instead of having the inventory sent to you, you have it sent to a prep center. So when you have an account, they give you an address that you can use, and that is the address that you have the people where you're sourcing from ship the products. And when they receive the products, when there's enough, and you guys will determine how big you want your shipments to be, then they will go ahead and perform the prep work. And they do that because you give them access to your account. That's no problem. If you don't realize it, in your Seller Central account, you can give access to other people, and you can actually control what they have access to. So maybe you don't want them to have access to your banking or something like that, but for a prep center, you will give them access to everything they would need to prep a shipment. So typically, at least in my experience, it works off of spreadsheets. So you may have a Google document or any type of spreadsheet that can be shared. They will give you access to a spreadsheet, and as you make purchases, you're going to update the spreadsheet, okay? And then they can see the spreadsheet being updated. That way they know what to expect. And then as they receive the inventory, and they actually start to inventory it, they will update the spreadsheet, and then you can access it and see how far along in the process you are. And then finally, when they create a shipment, you'll know about that. And at that point, they're accessing your Seller Central account. So you can see in there, once the shipment is prepared, just like any other shipment, you can kind of see the progress and see when Amazon receives it. And if they decide to ship it out to other warehouses, as they typically do, that's pretty much how it works. So now we move on to why you might consider using a prep center. Well, it's simple. With a prep center, you don't have to deal with physically prepping the products. As a matter of fact, there are people out here doing Amazon that never even see the inventory, and they love that. If that's the type of person you are, it allows you to scale. You know, you're only one person. If you have an assistant or someone you employ, they're only one person. There's going to be a limit to how much they can do in a week or every other week, or however often you're sending in your shipments. You're going to be limited because you're only one person. So if you use a prep center, you're able to ship a lot more product and you can scale up at least to the level of that prep center. Okay, so that is why you might consider using one, and I'm sure you could think of other reasons, but mainly it's about time and the ability to scale. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons of using a prep center. And some of these we kind of already covered, but one of the pros is there's no legwork. You can concentrate on working on the business, okay? Because when you're in business, you're either working in the business or on the business, or in my case, there's a combination of both. We really want to try and focus on working on the business, because working in the business, you can get anybody to do that. That's just the day-to-day work that has to be done. But you have to understand, you working in the business does not move the business forward. So anything that you can do that allows you more time to work on the business is going to be beneficial. But we'll get into that a little bit deeper. It gives you flexibility. If you don't have to deal with the actual prep work, that means you can work from anywhere, right? As long as you have internet, a computer, an internet connection, heck, you can even do it with your phone. So that's going to be an advantage, because now you're not restricted to being in one particular location. You can be anywhere in the world and you can run your business. And as I mentioned before, you can scale the business because you're going to be limited. Okay, now we're going to talk about a few of the cons. Okay, there are cons as well. It's going to take time. Okay, well, first of all, it's going to cost more, and we'll get into that when I show you the prep center that I used. But you're going to pay per piece because you got to pay for their labor. Okay, and it can add up really quick. You talk about scaling, and then the price per piece manages to scale your expense. So you have to think about that as well. It's going to take time. It takes time for the inventory to be received at the prep center, and time for them to actually go through and receive. Then they've got to do the prep work, and they kind of work on their own timetables. And we'll talk about different types of packages that will get you expedited service, and you're going to pay. If you want them to work faster on your shipments, you're going to pay for that. If you take the lowest cost, you're going to get the lowest level of service. And it also depends. It may not work with your business strategy. I work a lot in perishable items. I do a lot in grocery and gourmet. I've got expiration dates. What I've found is, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but they won't work with, Amazon by default, or as a rule, they sort of say, hey, an expiration date needs to be at least 180 days out. But if you're dealing in snack foods like me, you're not going to walk into a grocery store and have a bag of potato chips sitting up there that has 3 months, or some Twinkies or something that has an expiration date that's 3 months out. Now, Amazon understands that. So if you ship it in, they'll go ahead and take care of their customers. But the prep center may not do that. So it all depends on what you're dealing with. The prep center may not want to work with it. Maybe you're dealing with hazardous materials or things like that, and maybe they don't want to work with it. So that could also be an issue. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a moment and we're going to look at my Amazon account, because as always, we always want to make sure that you're listening to somebody that's qualified to teach you something. So real quick, you can see that today, let me get my glasses here. Today is June the 28th, the year is 2020, and it looks like so far we've had 13 orders. We'll hit the refresh key. Oh, and that's up to 15. So we've done $288.74 today. And if you look over the last 7 days, 15 days, the running 30-day total, we've done $15,776.61. And of course, that is not what we keep. That is gross sales. But and a lot of times I usually show a lot of more closely what I actually take home. But for this video, we're not going to get into that. We do that all the time. So if you follow me, you'll know the kind of take home, what I actually get to keep after expenses. And on that note, before we get back into the video, I would encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Click and after you subscribe, click the bell notification so that you can be notified every Thursday and Friday, because that's when we upload videos. And also on Saturday, we go live. And if you hit the bell notification, you'll be notified so that you don't miss those videos. We just went live yesterday. So if you click up, there should be something up that you can click on and watch yesterday's live stream. That's where you really get to meet me, get to know me as a person. We have fun. The working class hustlers have questions, so you can see what we're talking about, and we typically try and source together and find products. So you'll want to check that out. And so as we move on, we're going to talk about my experience with prep centers. So first of all, I used one called Prime Zero Prep. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm going to show you their website, but I have no affiliation with them. If you want to use them, they work. It's a very reputable company. Another one of the pros that I didn't talk about is they happen to be located in New Hampshire. New Hampshire doesn't levy tax, so that saved me. I'm in Pennsylvania, so it cost me 6% sales tax on things that I buy that fall, in a taxable category. That saves you money. And when you start getting bigger, it could, depending on your business strategy, the price of that you're saving in sales tax could actually take care of the price that it's costing you on a per piece basis to have a prep center handle your product. So you have to think about that. Okay. That may or may not be the case, though. You have to see for yourself and work the numbers out. But in my experience, it worked very well. But there were two things. The reason I got out of it is because I started moving more towards perishables, and they just would not ship the products in for me because they're by the book. Okay. So, and another thing is the time constraints. I mean, I'm telling you from my experience. Now others, some of you are coming from other experiences, so please leave a comment. Tell me all about it. There are all types of prep centers out there, and maybe you used one that was super fast. But what I found was I was lucky. If using a prep center added 2 more weeks to the process. In other words, from the time that I ordered products to the time I could get a full shipment in to the warehouse, it just takes time. Because you have to understand, the prep center is receiving products from you, and you're for example, let's say you're doing arbitrage, online arbitrage, and so you ordered some stuff from Target, you ordered some stuff from Walmart, you ordered from Best Buy, you ordered from wherever, and all of these shipments are coming in, and you keep updating your spreadsheet, and they can see, they know what to expect, and they're not going to ship in until they have everything or whatever you determine. But of course, you want your shipment to be big enough so that your cost per piece is minimal, right? So it's taking time because they're not just working on your shipment. They're not sitting around waiting on your inventory to get in so they can rush to inventory it. No, they're working on other people's accounts, and they sort of get to you when they get to you, and they update when they update. And this may work with your business plan. It may not. Now, again, I come from the arbitrage background. You may come from, say, private label. So maybe speed isn't that big of a deal, because once that whole shipment comes in, they deal with that whole shipment, they're done. With arbitrage, you got stuff coming from different people, and then you have to think about how are they dealing with, items that were not received. They opened the box, you said it was 10 coming in, there's 6, or you got partial shipments, you got damage and stuff like that. You may be a person that wants more hands-on. So those are some of the things that you have to think about. But again, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It works, but it has to work for you. So you got to know whether or not it's something that you want to do. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take a minute and we're going to look at the prep center that I used, and it's called Prime Zero Prep, as you can see here. And you can see that there's all kind of information that you can look at, and they'll tell you the whole story. And as you can see, well, it should say down here, yeah, they're out of New Hampshire. But if you look at their pricing, for example, if you take, there's different programs depending on how fast you want them to work on your products. Now, it's going to cost you $299 just to get in, okay? And sometimes they're open, sometimes they're not. It just depends. Sometimes they don't have any space for any new customers. At one time, prep centers were all the rage. I don't know what the deal is with that anymore. But if you take the lowest, it's going to cost you $1.20 per piece. Okay? I'm shipping in, you guys watched my video from last week. I shipped in 500 and some odd units. Well, look at, you just added, that for me is going to be better than $500 additional. You know what I mean? So you see how it starts to come together, and you have to start making a decision based on your circumstances and what you want, whether or not you're going to go with that. I don't want to lose that 500, but then some other people say, hey, my time is worth $1,000 an hour. So, these are the things that you have to consider, and only you can make that decision. Remember, guys, your business plan is your business plan, no one else's. I'm just giving you things that you have to consider. Are you dealing in multi-packs or bundles? Look at prices are per item. So if your bundle has 3 items, the cost for prep is for 3 items. So if you took the lowest service level and you got for example, if you got 3 items in the multi-pack or the bundle, you're talking about $3.60 per, per item, because the item is a multi-pack or a bundle. So, those are some of the things that you have to think about. Like I say, it worked well for me, but it just did not fit. And another thing you have to think about is when you start talking about the price per unit, okay, any one of these are taken away from your bottom line. So what's your strategy? If you know me, I will source at a return on investment of 20% or more. When you start taking out these numbers, it's going to take away some products that I would have been able to source, but now they fall below the ROI that I want to work with. So you have to think about that. Okay. Yeah, that pretty much covers it. So if there's anything that I missed, let me know. Just leave a comment and we'll address it. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with prep centers, but you have to understand, is it right for you? So that brings us to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is, people often ask me, should I use a prep center? You have to ask yourself, does it fit into your business plan? Are you ready? You'll know when you're ready. But I would probably say, as a general rule, if you're new to this, you don't want that added expense. You need to pay your dues. Okay, you got to put in some sweat equity and really know how this business works before you start looking at automating, streamlining, outsourcing, and stuff like that. Learn the business first. And here's another thing. Okay, you have to look at your plan. Okay, you guys know I always preach, think like a wholesaler, work like an arbitrage guy. What that means is you're going to end up with a lot of replenishables. And once you got your replenishables, you got the same products coming in over and over, and you learn how to work with those specific products, and you get better and better and better at processing. Some stuff comes to me, it never even comes in this house. It gets done, processed, and it's right back out the door, right from my front porch. So don't think that the only way to scale and automate is with a prep center. Here's another thing. This is important, guys. Think about what I'm about to tell you. Okay, if you have a business strategy and the strategy is working, You're thinking like a wholesaler. You're working like an arbitrage guy. And now you've gotten to say you're shipping in 500 pieces a week. And you're saying to yourself, well, I need to scale. So now I'm going to go and start using a prep center. Maybe that's not what you need to do. Once you get to the point where you have replenishables, here's what's good. You're always selling. At that point, the machine is running. Well, once the machine starts running, you're saying, okay, I'm sending in 500 units. I'm a one-man band. I can't send in any more than that. Now you start to tweak of those 500 units that you're capable of sending in. What's the return on investment? Now you can start cherry picking. You may say to yourself, I'm not adding any more products unless I'm getting at least a 300%, 500% return on investment. Now that I spent the time, I worked my plan, and I have a business that actually has momentum, now I can start cherry picking and then continuing. I can start dropping items that don't do as well, replacing that, and before you know it, instead of having 500 units that you sent in that are bringing you 20%, what if you had 500 units that you're shipping in that's bringing you 100% ROI? So now you don't need to scale, you just need to source better. That's just the thought, okay? So one more thing, guys, I wanted to show you a quick bonus. Now check this out, because you always got to be thinking about learning. You're always looking. Sometimes you don't need to go to YouTube to learn something. Remember, Amazon wants you to succeed. In fact, they have nothing to gain by you failing and ultimately leaving the platform, right? So what if you went right into your Seller Central account and you saw under news, free live webinars available from Amazon Small Business Academy? What if you clicked on that and boom, you got all of these webinars that they've put together for your benefit? Again, they want you to succeed, guys. You know, what if you wanted to get into B2B sales? Register and watch the free seminar. You know, what if you wanted to become or just learn about becoming an Amazon delivery service provider? This is real, guys. Haven't you looked around and haven't you seen these Amazon trucks? Who are they putting in these trucks? You have a chance to get your own business, put somebody else in that truck, whatever. Register and watch the video. What if, they have past webinars that you can watch. Maybe you want to just let Amazon teach you about the tools that are right in Seller Central. You'll click on view. You'll fill out a quick, some fields that have your name and stuff like that, and you can watch the video and continue to grow, continue to learn. So I hope this video had value for you. Please give it a thumbs up, like it, share it. And again, like I said, leave comments, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.